Welcome, my friends. Tonight I want to explore with you something that could fundamentally change how you see yourself and your place in the world. The creative force that exists within human consciousness, and how understanding this force can transform every aspect of your life. We've all heard the phrase with God, all things are possible. But I want to suggest something that might challenge your thinking. This creative power isn't separate from you, it is you. The ancient texts speak of the Word becoming flesh, but perhaps they mean something deeper than we've traditionally understood. Perhaps they mean that the creative principle of the universe has taken up residence within human consciousness itself. Consider this carefully. If there is truly only one creative power in existence, and if that power operates through consciousness, then your consciousness must be an expression of that same divine creativity. We are not separate beings hoping for divine intervention. We are divine creativity in individualized form. When we examine our own experience, we find something remarkable, our capacity to imagine. This isn't just daydreaming or fantasy. It's the same force that brings all reality into being. Look around you right now. Everything you see, the chair you're sitting in, the building we're in, the clothes you wear, all of it was once merely imagined. Someone conceived these things in their mind before they became physical reality. Your imagination isn't just a tool you possess. It's your true identity. Every great achievement in human history began as someone's imagined possibility. The founding fathers of America didn't believe in the future as something that would happen to them. They believed in the future they could create. They had no evidence for democracy working, no precedent for their vision, yet they imagined it so vividly and persistently that it became the foundation of a nation. They understood something we've forgotten, that imagining creates reality, not through magic or supernatural intervention, but through the natural operation of consciousness itself. When you consistently hold an assumption about reality, you literally think from that state, and thinking from a state creates that state in your external experience. This is how creation works, through assumption becoming fact. When you consistently assume something to be true, when you live in the feeling of already having what you desire, reality reshapes itself to match your inner state. It must, because consciousness is the only creative power, and what you persistently imagine, you inevitably experience. Let me share how this works in practice. Suppose you desire better health. The natural tendency is to focus on the problem, on what's wrong, on the healing process, on all the steps you think you need to take. But this keeps you mentally dwelling in the state of being unwell. Instead, imagine the end result. Picture a friend remarking how vibrant you look. Feel their genuine surprise at your transformation. Hear yourself responding with confidence about how wonderful you feel. Make this scene so real in your imagination that you can feel the emotions you would actually experience if this conversation were happening right now. This isn't positive thinking or wishful daydreaming. This is you operating the creative mechanism of consciousness itself. You're not trying to change the outer world directly. You're changing your inner state, and the outer world must conform to match it. The same principle applies to any desire. Want a better relationship? Don't imagine finding someone. Imagine already being in the loving relationship you desire. Want career advancement? Don't focus on the competition or the obstacles. Imagine colleagues congratulating you on your promotion. Want financial freedom? Don't worry about the how. Imagine the peace and security of already having what you need. Let me tell you about someone who proved this principle in a dramatic way. This person desired to own a particular building in their city, but had no money for such a venture. Every day for 2 years, as they walked past that building, they would imagine seeing their family name on the marquee, not hoping for it, not planning how to get it, simply assuming it was already true. They would feel the pride of ownership, the satisfaction of success, the reality of their vision, as if it had already come to pass. They lived in that state consistently, day after day, until it felt more real than their current circumstances. One day, a complete stranger approached them with an extraordinary offer. This man, whom they had never met, proposed to purchase the building on their behalf, requiring only their signature and a promise to repay at modest interest over 10 years. No money down, no collateral required, just their commitment to the vision they had been holding. That business venture grew into a multi-million-dollar enterprise that eventually expanded across multiple locations. When the building was finally sold decades later, it brought nearly 20 times the original purchase price. The stranger who made it all possible became a lifelong friend, and upon his death left substantial wealth to the family, as a gesture of appreciation for their integrity. This stranger appeared at exactly the right moment because consciousness had arranged all the necessary circumstances. When you change your inner state, the outer world must provide the bridge of incidents to make your assumption into fact. The person didn't attract this opportunity through networking or business acumen. They created it through sustained imaginative assumption. This creative power operates through what I call living in the end. Instead of focusing on how your desire might come about, you jump to the final result and make that your dwelling place in consciousness. You assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and persist in that assumption until it becomes your natural state. Think about this. If you truly believed you already possessed what you desire, how would you feel right now? How would you move through your day? What kind of confidence would you have? What conversations would you be having with yourself and others? This is the state you want to cultivate and maintain. The challenge is that your current circumstances will seem to contradict your assumption. Your senses will tell you nothing has changed. Your rational mind will argue against the reality of your vision. But this is where faith becomes practical. Not blind faith, but intelligent persistence in a principle you can test and verify through experience. This principle extends far beyond personal desires. You can use this creative power on behalf of others without their knowledge or permission. See your unemployed friend gainfully employed. Imagine your struggling neighbor prospering. Feel the reality of their success as clearly as you would your own. I once knew someone whose colleague was about to be fired for poor performance. Instead of offering advice or trying to intervene directly, he simply began imagining this person being praised by their superiors for excellent work. He would sit at his desk and clearly hear the management team discussing this colleague's valuable contributions. Within days, the situation completely reversed. The person who was about to be terminated was suddenly being commended for innovative ideas and exceptional performance. The shift was so dramatic that the colleague himself was amazed, though he never knew about the imaginative work being done on his behalf. When you truly understand that consciousness is the only creative power in the universe, you realize that everyone you encounter is connected to your own creative capacity. Helping others rise is helping yourself rise, because at the deepest level there is only one consciousness appearing as many. With this understanding comes tremendous responsibility. You are constantly imagining, constantly creating through your assumptions about yourself and others. The question isn't whether you're using this power, you're always using it. The question is whether you're using it consciously and constructively. If you spend your days assuming limitation, lack, and problems, you're creating more of the same. If you read the news and dwell on all the negative possibilities, you're feeding your consciousness with exactly what you don't want to experience. If you assume abundance, possibility, and solutions, you create those instead. Your outer world is always a perfect reflection of your inner assumptions. Most people create unconsciously, reacting to circumstances rather than creating them. They imagine what they fear more vividly than what they desire. They assume their limitations are permanent and their problems are insurmountable. Then they wonder why their circumstances never improve. But once you understand this principle, you can begin creating deliberately. You can choose what to imagine. You can select which assumptions to maintain. You can decide what kind of inner state to cultivate, knowing that your outer world will inevitably conform to match it. The technique is elegantly simple. Each night before sleep, when your conscious mind is naturally relaxed and receptive, construct a brief scene that would naturally occur if your desire were already fulfilled. Make it simple, make it specific, and make it feel completely real. If you desire marriage, imagine wearing a wedding ring and feeling its weight on your finger as your beloved placed it there. If you want career success, imagine a colleague congratulating you on your achievement. If you seek healing, imagine your doctor expressing amazement at your recovery. The key is to feel the reality of the scene, not just visualize it. Feel the emotions you would genuinely experience. Engage all your senses. Make it so vivid that for those moments, it feels more real than your current circumstances. Then sleep in that state. Let that feeling be the last thing in your consciousness as you drift off. Your subconscious mind will work throughout the night to arrange the circumstances necessary to make your assumption into fact. People often say, I tried imagining and nothing happened, but when I investigate, I find they imagined once or twice and then return to their old patterns of thought. They imagined what they wanted while continuing to assume what they didn't want. Consistency is crucial. You must persist in your new assumption until it becomes natural to you. This might take days, weeks, or even months, depending on how deeply rooted your old beliefs are. But if you remain faithful to your vision, it must manifest, because consciousness is the only creative power. Another common mistake is trying to figure out how the desire will be fulfilled. Your job isn't to create the path. Your job is to maintain the state. Consciousness will provide the bridge of incidents, the series of events that will lead to the manifestation of your assumption. Your task is simply to remain faithful to the end result. As you practice this principle, you'll begin to understand something profound about the nature of reality itself. What we call the physical world is actually consciousness made visible. Every person, every object, every circumstance is consciousness in expression. This means that when you change your state of consciousness, you're not trying to manipulate an external world, you're literally changing the fundamental substance of which your experience is made. Reality isn't fixed and independent of you, it's fluid and responsive to your imaginative assumptions. This is why the ancient teachings speak of God becoming human, not as a historical event but as an ongoing truth about the nature of consciousness itself. The creative power of the universe operates through human imagination, and when you consciously align with this power, you become a co-creator of reality. Don't think of yourself as a limited being, hoping for divine favor. Recognize yourself as divine consciousness, individualized. You don't need to earn the right to create your experience. It's your natural birthright. You don't need permission from others to assume the state you desire. You need only your own decision. This isn't arrogance or delusion. It's recognition of what you truly are. Every person carries the same creative power, though most remain unconscious of it. When you awaken to your true nature and begin operating consciously as a creator, you're not claiming superiority over others. You're simply remembering what everyone is capable of when they understand their true identity. Tonight, I challenge you to test this principle. Decide what you truly want to experience in your life. Create a simple scene that implies its fulfillment. Feel the reality of that scene with all the sensory vividness you can muster. Then persist in that assumption, regardless of what your current circumstances seem to suggest. Don't be discouraged if change doesn't happen immediately. The greater the change you're assuming, the more time it may take for reality to reorganize itself around your new state. But if you remain faithful to your vision, if you truly live in the end, your assumption will harden into fact. Remember, you are not a victim of fate or circumstance. You are the operant power of consciousness itself. Use this power wisely. Use it lovingly and discover for yourself the truth that has been hidden in plain sight. Within you lies the creative force that spoke the universe into existence. The invitation stands before you. Will you continue creating unconsciously through worry and limitation, or will you begin creating consciously through imagination and assumption? The choice, as always, is yours to make. Thank you for your attention tonight. Go forth and create consciously. Thanks for watching Best of Lectures. Hope this gave you something to think about. If you enjoyed it, hit subscribe for more lectures on consciousness, potential, and life's deeper questions. Drop a comment and let me know what you think. I love hearing from you. Please subscribe for more transformative content, and I'll see you in the next video.